When we think of castles, we imagine large stone fortresses with towers, battlements, and moats. But castles as we know them are the result of centuries of evolution, adaptation, and military advancement. In this video, we'll explore almost 2,000 years of history to see that process. During the Iron Age in Central and Western Europe, the Celtic peoples built so-called oppida, enormous fortified settlements. These sites were true urban centers, with market areas, homes, and defensive walls. They were strategically located on hills or elevated areas, and were protected by wooden palisades, ditches, and rammed earth walls. An impressive example is Alesia, in present-day France. This oppidum was the scene of one of the most famous sieges in history, when Julius Caesar surrounded the Gallic leader Vercingetorix. Alesia boasted extensive defenses, although it ultimately fell to the Roman machine. With the arrival of Rome, the idea of fortification underwent a major organizational advance. The Romans were experts in military engineering and built thousands of castra, fortified camps that could be converted into permanent cities. These fortresses were rectangular, surrounded by stone walls, or palisades, watchtowers, and a perimeter ditch. Inside, everything was arranged in strict order: barracks, storehouses, and access routes. Each castra could house an entire legion. Vindolanda, near Hadrian's Wall in present-day England, is a well-preserved example. This fortress shows how Rome organized its borders and dominated distant territories through the power of construction. With the fall of the Roman Empire, many of these fortresses were abandoned or taken over by the subjugated peoples. In this time of instability, defenses returned to the basics: nature. Elevations were chosen, villages were surrounded by palisades, and construction began with available materials. The Visigoths in Hispania and the Ostrogoths in Italy reused old Roman walls and sometimes built new bastions on their remains. Later, with the arrival of Islam in the Iberian Peninsula, defensive techniques from the Arab world were introduced. A great example of this evolution is Gormaz Castle in Spain. Built in the 10th century by Muslims on a strategic hill, it takes advantage of the topography and shows a clear transition between ancient fortresses and medieval castles. In the 11th century, the Normans introduced a new form of fortification: the motte and bailey. It was simple but effective. A motte was a mound, natural or artificial, with a watchtower on top, while a bailey was a walled courtyard at the base where soldiers, artisans, and peasants lived. These constructions were built quickly, often in a few days, using earth and wood. Particularly prevalent in Great Britain, they were perfect for taking control of a newly conquered territory. Durham Castle, in northern England, began in this way. It was key to consolidating Norman rule after the conquest of 1066. Although it was later transformed into stone, its origins clearly show the logic of the motte and bailey: speed, control, and domination of the terrain. As kingdoms consolidated and threats grew, castles transitioned from wood to stone. Large keep towers, the defensive core, appeared. Surrounded by high walls, circular towers, and increasingly complex structures. They were built on hills, protected by ditches, and designed to withstand prolonged sieges. During the Crusades, Europeans adopted techniques from the Islamic world, such as multiple towers and internal water systems. A castle that represents this evolution is the Croc de Chevalier in Syria. Fortified by the Crusaders, it is a masterful example of military engineering. Its double walls, Defensive corridors and storerooms made it almost impenetrable. Between the 12th and 14th centuries, castles reached their peak. They became symbols of power, noble residences, and administrative centers. Defenses were perfected: concentric walls, barbicans, drawbridges, flanking towers, and crossfire systems. But there was also an aesthetic leap. Castles were embellished with Gothic elements, gardens, stained glass windows, and interior decorations. Living in a castle not only meant security, but also status and prestige. Carcassonne, in southern France, is a perfect example. Its double ring of walls, its 52 towers, and its location make it an imposing fortress and an architectural gem of the Middle Ages. Restored in the 19th century, it still displays the splendor of the Golden Age today. But nothing lasts forever. With the invention of gunpowder and cannons, the high walls that once held back armies became vulnerable. Beginning in the 15th century, fortresses began to be designed lower and wider, with sloping walls and bastions. Castles, as defensive structures, fell into decline. Many were abandoned or transformed into luxurious palaces, without military function. A good example is the Château de Vincennes, near Paris. It began as a royal fortress and was adapted into a Renaissance residence. Its great keep still stands, but it is no longer surrounded by soldiers, but by gardens. Today, castles are part of our collective memory. They appear in books, movies, and video games, and they continue to fascinate us. They bear witness to a past filled with battles, intrigue, titanic constructions, and also architectural beauty. From the palisades of Elysia to the towers of Carcassonne, castles evolved alongside the civilizations that built them.